Hello.
Hi.
We are here. We made it. Sorry for the delay.
It was
a
me.
little bit
I'm
of
so
a day.
sorry.
Technical issues.
Yeah, it has been a day. It has definitely been a day. Mishaal almost didn't make the
Three
show.
out of 4 of us have had internet. Well, actually, 2 of us have had internet problems all day.
There's been stuff going on. Wynn had some technical difficulties on her side. Wynn, are you working now?
Yes, I am. StreamYard just hates my audio setup, and StreamYard, I don't like you very much back right now. So.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway.
But hey, I got a new camera, so I look a little sharper. Hopefully, a new camera, and a new light. So hopefully, I'm a little better now.
You are. You're very high def.
Yes.
Very
high
much
def.
Ron.
Yes. Do much Ron.
Much Ron.
But Juan, good to see you. Welcome back, sir.
Yeah.
It's good to have you
so
back.
stoked. I just realized the number. Like I'm getting to join you all on like these momentous and pre-momentous episodes of the podcast. Thanks for having me back.
99.
99. Episode 99.
So Jason is off this week, which means I'm driving the bus. So bear with me. It's been a while since I've done that, but we will do it. All right. So do you want to let's get into the show since we're a couple minutes late. So we'll just dive right into it. So all right. So I'm going to drop folks from the show. So goodbye, Wynn. Goodbye, Juan. Goodbye, Mishaal. I'm going to block me out, but everyone can still hear me. All right. Cool. All right. We will get started in a moment. No looping. There we go. Well, hello, and welcome to another edition, the 99th edition of Android Faithful, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, apps, lively discussion, and just a general all-around good time in the world of technology. My name is Ron Richards, and with me, as always,
Is Huyen Tue Dao. Hi.
And I'm Mishaal Rahman.
hello, friends. How are you?
Hello, friends.
Mishaal,
Hello.
we missed you last week. How you been?
I wish I could have been on last week because it was such an important day in the world of Android. But unfortunately, that also means I am a very busy man in the important days of the world of Android.
But you were present in the form of your written word, which we had you represented. But yeah. So but we're super excited because it is our 99th episode, and we're celebrating all things Android Faithful. We couldn't celebrate as on the march to 100 episodes without welcoming a good friend of the show, friend of Android Faithful, Mr. Juan Bagnell. Welcome back to the show.
I had to unmute. Hey, what's up? I always forget you can do that for me, so I preemptively muted. Hey, I'm so excited to be back, and again sharing some of these milestone podcast episodes with y'all. So
I believe you were one of our early guests in the early days of the new show, and I believe you have the record for most guest appearances on the show so far. I didn't do the count because I was busy today with work.
That's
but
quite all right.
I think you were our first Android Faithful guest. I could be wrong about that, but I'm
no,
pretty
he
sure.
wasn't. Our first was
I think I was
actually
like the
Max.
second,
It was
yeah.
Max
Oh, it was
Weinbach.
Max. So second.
No, he was our third guest on
What?
episode 5. Chet was our second guest.
No way. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
But
Chet
I
House
was in there pretty early.
Yep.
So
Pretty
Okay,
early.
no, I mean, obviously, Juan, you're close to my heart because I keep number one. No, okay, why do be number 2? Okay, number 3, but still number 1 in our hearts.
But he's number
Number
one in terms of
one.
number one in terms of appearances. So there we go. Yeah. So but
I love it.
Juan, what have you been up to? How's life been? What's got you excited?
Oh man,
these
just
days?
keeping all these balls up in the air, just like everybody else. It's lots of crazy tech news, and we're trying to keep a handle on it. Doing mini PC builds, some audio tech coming up, and this is the season, right? We've got a little time during the summer to catch up on some of these projects, and then it's go time again once we get into September and all these updates start hitting. So. Yeah, it's good times. There's some fun stuff to talk about out there.
Cool. And everyone should go subscribe to your YouTube channel over at Some Gadget Guy, right? That's where they can find your stuff.
That's the best place to go. You can always catch like all the stuff I post on somegadgetguy.com. There's the YouTube channel, and of course, everyone has their own Patreon if you're trying to support production and the people that are making all the good stuff here. I have one of those too. So.
Yes.
We like the communities, and we're getting some fun interaction and engagement.
Right on. Well, we are fans, and we appreciate all the good work that you do. And speaking of Patreon, how folks can support us over here at Android Faithful. We're very exciting. We've had a ton of response. We talked about it last week to celebrate 100 years. I was going to say 100 episodes of Android Faithful. We've got a really exciting promotion going on right now where you can head over to patreon.com/Android Faithful and you can sign up to support the show and you can get 20% off a new membership if you wanted to sign off a monthly or an annual sign up, which is pretty cool. And we've had a bunch of people sign up. We had a bunch of new people join the Patreon, which is awesome. It gets you access to the ad-free version of the podcast, as well as access to the after show, Android Faithful After Hours, or what is it called? After Hours? Yes, it's called After Hours.
Yep.
And which this week Juan will be joining us for, which we're very excited for.
Yeah.
And that's where we talk about the stuff that didn't make the cut in the regular show, which is always a fun thing to talk about. So if you go to patreon.com/Android Faithful and use code AF100, and you could do that code is going to be good until next Tuesday after our 100th episode live stream wraps up. So you've got one more week to do that. Quick note, as we found out for some people who tried to do it, if you're currently a member of Patreon, that code does not work to upgrade your membership. So if you are a lower tier member and you want to upgrade, the discount does not work. If you want to do that, message us and we'll figure out how to do that for you. We'll pull some strings. We'll make that happen. We also had some people writing in saying, hey, I want to support you and I want the discount, but I don't want to go to Patreon. So I set up the discount over at androidfaithful.com as well. So if you go to androidfaithful.com/AF100, you could sign up with 20% off a monthly membership on the website. Or if you go to androidfaithful.com/AF100year, you get 20% off an annual membership. And these links will be in our show notes over on androidfaithful.com, so you can get all the links you need to do it. And as part of this wonderful celebration of 100 episodes, the After Hours bonus show, which is normally reserved for supporting members on Patreon and androidfaithful.com, we're giving it away for free for the next 2 weeks. So last week's episode, everyone in the free feed got it. You're going to get it this week as well and next week, so you get a little taste of what we're doing, and that way you can decide if hey, I like what they're doing, I'll step up and support them. And we want to thank everybody who signed up to this point. But we're not stopping there. You'd think that would be enough, but no, 100 episodes means even more exciting stuff. So I'm excited to announce tonight that in addition to the discounted membership drive for the next couple of weeks, in addition to everybody getting access to the After Hours show for the next 2 weeks, in July, after episode 100, everyone who has signed up on Patreon or AndroidFaithful.com will be in the mix for a series of giveaways that we're going to be doing through July. What are we giving away? You're going to have to tune in and find out in July. But let me tell you, between Jason and Mishaal and Win and Flo and me, we've got a lot of stuff, right? Whether it's swag from Google, or it could be hardware, it could be, you never know. It's going to be pretty exciting. We're going to give it away to y'all, to not to everyone, but to lucky winners. So the only way you can get that is by signing up over at Patreon or AndroidFaithful.com. So we are not giving away a car, though. So Cousin of John in the chat said, I'd like the Android car. We're not giving that away. They're little things.
taking the big swing, though. Take the big swing. Yeah.
But it'll be fun things. So, yeah, Lord knows, my wife said, you've got a lot of stuff with Google on it that we don't need in the house. So, so we're gonna be making some cool care packages. So if you want to get some cool stuff related to Android, sign up now. Again, go to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, use code AF100, or go to androidfaithful.com/AF100, and you can sign up and get 20% off. And so I will stop shilling now at that point, because nobody likes the shilling. But thank you everyone who signed up so far. The response has been awesome. I mean, Mishaal and Win, I've been keeping you guys updated with a number of people, and it's been very, very exciting to see those folks coming in. So hooray. All right, so that said, why don't we get to some news? What do you say? Mishaal, we missed you last week, but so why don't you tell us what's the latest in the world of Android 16 or Android operating system stuff?
So yeah, I wasn't here last week for the big Android 16 release, but there's some follow-up news from that release, or rather the lack of a release. So as usual, Google released the source code for Android 16. If you're a developer, you can go to the Android Open Source Project, or AOSP. You can download it. You can compile your own Android 16 based operating system for your device. But the issue is, this time around, there was notably a lack of the pixel device trees and their proprietary binaries. Google has been for years, dating back to like the early Nexus devices, has been releasing these device trees and these driver binaries. They've been publishing them for developers to use. And what are these files? These files basically allow developers to create custom builds of Android specifically for Pixel phones. So in the past, Pixel devices and Nexus devices before them were treated as basically the reference hardware for the Android open source project. So if you wanted to build AOSP or the open source version of Android, it was designed so that you'd be able to build it and install it on a Pixel device. Now, that's no longer really the case because Google is no longer actively supporting Pixel devices as a reference hardware. And the reason they want to do that is because they want to kind of move away from treating their own customized consumer hardware as the generic reference device for Android. Instead, they want people to use a virtual device as a reference hardware. And so why is this a problem? Why is this causing an uproar? Well, besides the fact that they've been doing this service for developers for like over a decade now, the reason is that a lot of developers have kind of relied on this service that Google has done to basically make their lives easier. And whenever they wanted to create their own custom operating systems based on AOSP, it was a lot easier for them to do so versus other devices. So that's why you kind of see a lot of projects like Graphene OS, Lineage OS, Calyx OS, a lot of these other Android-based operating systems. They kind of readily support Pixel hardware because it was just really easy to do. Google did a lot of the legwork to make that possible. But now you kind of have Pixel hardware on the same level of support in terms of like other devices. Google is no longer providing the device trees, which are basically the files that tell the build system where the proprietary file should go when you're compiling an image. They're no longer publishing the total commit history for the kernel source code. So now it's just one giant file, and you just have the entire giant patch list instead of everything patch by patch, like the details and the rationale for everything. Basically, it's like, if you want to build your own Android-based operating system for a Pixel phone, basically the same difficulty as it is building for a Samsung phone or a OnePlus phone or like an Oppo phone or something else. Anything that you can build for, Pixel's now at the same level for. And that's kind of disappointing just because for the longest time, they've basically been the friendliest when it comes to building your own Android-based operating system. But now they're kind of shying away from that.
Yep. And I thought it was interesting that Google VP and GM of Android platform, Xiang Chao, posted to X, kind of trying to clear it up. But yeah. Did his post clear it up in your perspective? I mean, Juan, you're shaking your head no. I mean,
well, just for the context, like the first thing he's saying, he was clearing up. The first sentence is saying, we're seeing some speculation that AOSP is being discontinued. To be clear, AOSP is not going away. So there were some rumors being spread around that Google is discontinuing or plans to discontinue AOSP, as in they are planning to no longer release the source code for Android, which would be a huge deal because they've been doing that from the very beginning. But Google, Xiang Chao, who is friend of the show, VP and GM of Android platform, is emphatically saying that is not going to happen.
Yep. So I mean, this is a major change, right? I mean, this is this affects the downstream effects of this are huge, right?
I mean, I'm glad we got confirmation that AOSP is not going away, but I think a lot of the concerns people were voicing weren't necessarily specifically that, but that Google's involvement, Google's contributions to AOSP, like Mishaal was saying, make all of these other projects much easier to fulfill. So in a way, Google pulling out of that kind of support or of that kind of sharing of information makes a lot of these projects more difficult. And I wonder if this is going to spur on future sort of fork OSs, like, the early days of Harmony OS were kind of Android inspired, Android adjacent, and then it's become its own thing that is now possibly going on laptops. And I wonder if this isn't yet another sort of reaction from Google proper, where whatever this company feels makes their individual products special around Android is now going to be even more protected because of all of the political uncertainty around Chrome. So if they're going to wall off this, they're going to make their flavor of Android special, unique, kind of locked down, and then that's maybe what's going to be in the next hardware iteration of a Chromebook. It probably won't be called a Chromebook if Google is forced to sell off Chrome. So I think this is kind of a trend that we're going to see continue. Unfortunately, I think Google's going to be a lot more protective about their flavor of this operating system.
Well, I mean, the Android AOSP, what you get is very different than what you see on Pixel devices already. Their flavor of Android is not the same as what you see in the Android open source project. There's a lot of proprietary stuff.
It's basically like a Samsung or a OnePlus version of Android, right? Like it's a customized, like it's the Pixel experience now, right? Yeah. So
it doesn't have an official name, but that's what a lot of people call it.
Yeah. So. Well, interesting. All right. And what else are on Android 16, Mishaal?
So this actually came up in a Patreon submission. They wanted us to talk about this feature that Google kind of quietly announced on their Android.com webpage. It's a new feature called trade-in mode. And this is not really something that's going to impact you directly, but when you send your phone for trade-in, right, you need to have a technician inspect it. And the thing is, how does the technician actually do that? Well, when you send your phone for trade-in, you presumably, hopefully, you remember to factory reset it before you send it in, right? So they're dealing with the factory reset phone, but they have to actually inspect it. They have to make sure that all this stuff works correctly, right? They're gonna go through the setup wizard. They're gonna tap, 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 do what you usually do to skip through everything. They're gonna install some diagnostic applications and run some tests. But they're not just doing that one time. They're doing that dozens of times, hundreds of times for a lot of different devices, a lot of different manufacturers. So what Google has built in Android 16 is a trade-in mode that basically it's a new feature that allows them to basically run this command immediately on boot. So even before the device has gone through the full the setup wizard, they can run this command. They can run some diagnostic tests. They can get some device information without having to manually go through the setup wizard and then enable these features and then do all this stuff manually. So this will shave off dozens of seconds, maybe minutes on each device, but that's going to add up, right? If that adds up over time, maybe they'll get to your device 2 days earlier than they might have done before. And that means you'll get your trade-in value assessed and maybe your refund or your store credit back a couple of days earlier. So, it's a small change. It's a very under the hood back end change, but it can make a big difference.
Yeah. Especially with trade-ins becoming it's a huge part of OnePlus's whole marketing scheme now, right? I mean, and trade-ins, I feel like left and right. I mean, even Google does it. When I was flirting with getting a Pixel Fold, I was looking at the trade-in values of my stack of phones. Like, what phones can I trade in and get the most money from? So it's a thing. I've never actually done a traded in phone. Have any of you traded in a phone or?
Oh yeah, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've never had any issues where I have to dispute a trade-in.
Yeah.
But it's taken time, and I've been like, is my trade-in still being valued? Am I going to get my credit?
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that there are these little pockets of the experience, like repair mode, right? Little things that when the phone is out of your possession, that still can still improve the quality of life.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I was going to make a segue about the quality of life of watch faces, but I didn't work there,
it's kind of a difficult one because technology always moves on and development doesn't always move on at the same pace as Google wants us to. And I guess it's more to say that the watch face format I'm going to call it WFF because the name is so generic. I got confused just reading it, but kind of basically the latest format for watch faces, which was kind of first, I guess, which is kind of the recommended way of doing watch faces is going to be the supported format for watch faces. And in fact, legacy watch faces are going away in 2026, specifically on January 14th. So on this date and forward, legacy watches not using the newest format will not be installable. So for example, WearOS 5 only supports the watch face format, and up until January 14th, you won't be able to install, after January 14th. If you want to install a new watch face, a brand new one that you don't have already, it has to support this new format. Up until then, though, if you have a legacy watch face, developers for that watch face will be able to publish updates as a way of just temporarily supporting it. But in order for developers to publish any updates after January 14th, sorry, my notes are all just, this date is just January 14th. Basically, developers will have to have migrated their watch faces over to the watch face format until then. But I mean, it's kind of tough. It's always. I mean, there's a good reason why like Google should force people onto the new watch face, but it does kind of suck, especially for developers that maybe if it's in a full time thing and don't have like the resources to devote to this, to have to try to catch up. But it's a thing. I guess on the flip side, even though migrations are always work, the version 4 of the watch face format is coming up in WearOS 6, and it will provide photo support, animate transitions for ambient mode, and improved color and text features, as well as, of course, making watch faces ready for third-party marketplaces like Facer, as we've already talked about, and PUGIE. Is it Puji? Puji?
The watch face
Yeah.
store.
How do you say that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just pronounce it however I feel like in my head.
I know. That's one thing when we are majority writing and reading these things. Okay.
Puji.
Okay, someone write in and tell me. Someone send a voicemail and tell Win how to pronounce that. But yeah, that's basically it. After January 14th, watch face format will be the format.
So I don't wear a watch, so this isn't close to me. But how do you know if your watch face is affected?
I mean, they're just not going to, in the future, they're not going to let you publish updates. They're not even going to let you install them. So if you can't install it, you'll find out.
Yeah,
that's
pretty much that.
And if you buy a new watch, like the OnePlus Watch 3, for example, you can't even install legacy watch faces.
Look at that! Oh, look at the OnePlus Watch Club down there. Yeah, Juan and Mishaal both. I have it too. I'm just not wearing it. So
But I was gonna ask, because I mean, like for those of us that are sporting smartwatches, I've kind of always been somewhat fine with just the included
default
watch faces that each manufacturer has made. It's been a while since I've gone out looking for really crazy custom home screens for my
I think
watch.
that's also kind of a reviewer thing, because like we switch devices, we know we're gonna have to switch devices.
Fair.
People who keep their devices for like 5 years, they're gonna eventually want to probably heavily personalize it.
Well, that's the thing. Like when I got the Pixel watch, which I don't wear, and then when I got the OnePlus watch, which I don't wear, because I don't leave the house, I don't go anywhere anymore, and even when I did, I don't really like things on my wrist, but when I got them, I always got really excited about the idea of customizing this watch to be my own. And both times I got those watches, I spent at least an hour looking for the perfect watch face to express my personality, and then I just got tired and moved on and went back to the default one, right? Because I never really found it. Like, am I going to use the Star Trek one or the comic book one or the whatever? But there's an idea. There's definitely there's an idea of scratching that itch of the personalization, customized, like no one else has this watch face but me kind of idea of back when I was in my 20s, when I had the time to construct the perfect, like back when I used to make the custom wallpapers for my phone and stuff like that, where now I've had the same wallpaper for the past 5 years. So,
No, and I think it's also things like, I think a lot of the first party watch faces tend to have the most complications, which is what I like. And then, same thing. Like, I always find it's fun, the personality, but I actually had I think I remember the Motorola, the one with the flat tire. I had some of the fun watch faces that made use of the flat tire. But after a while, I think I had like a Star Trek Next Generation like computer.
Cars.
The car. Yeah. And after I was like, I can't read this. And after
it actually doesn't work.
It's fun because it has personality, but after a while, if the watch is going to stay on my wrist, it's utility, and it's especially with a watch, it being a very glanceable thing. I'm like, well, sorry. Yeah. So, but I know there must be people. I know there's people out there who love their watch faces and use them every day, especially since we've had so much buzz around Facer. So, yeah, if you're someone who has to have a custom watch face and that's your everyday, like write us and let us know, what are we missing? Like, what is it that, like just let us know. And do you have like a watch face that is both full of personality and utility? I'm just really fascinated, just because I tend to drift off like Ron has, but I don't know.
I do have
go ahead.
One thing I wanted to add. I think like there's kind of been a lack of good explanation from Google why they're doing this. Like, why are they getting rid of legacy watch faces and forcing everyone to do the watch face format? And I think maybe Google has explained this sometime, but the reason from what I can tell is that, legacy watch faces, they were allowed to have code in them, like executable code. Watch face format, no code. It's just the layout, the images, the assets, and it's executed by VOS. And why is that a big difference? Well, because you have custom watch faces with custom animations, a lot of custom stuff going on. Well, the thing is, it might look fancy, it might look nice, it might look like awesome to use, but you as a user, regular user, you might not know it's destroying your battery life.
Yeah.
And WearOS has
then
kind
they
of
get
been
complaints about
suffering.
Mhm.
And then, people that are
Yeah.
complaining about their watch having terrible battery life, or WearOS having terrible battery life,
Yep.
or maybe bad performance.
That makes sense.
I think this is just kind of like a baseline way to say, okay, we're standardizing how watch faces behave. That might limit how they look, like they're slowly expanding what they can do, but standardizing how they behave, so that you kind of have like a baseline level of performance and battery life.
Reel them in.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's the long tail, unfortunately, of Android, and that's like the advantage of. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Juan.
I was just gonna say, if Google wants to fix battery life on Wear OS, they could look at what companies like OnePlus and Mobvoi have done
Yeah.
with the sort of low power RTOS power states, where you go from having like a day of battery life to having like 4 days of battery life.
And
to
in
the
their
credit
defense,
they have,
and in their
Fitbit.
defense, they worked with OnePlus on that,
Yeah.
right? Like to make it work at the OS level.
But Google owns Fitbit, and Fitbit used to have a low power operating system that Google could have piggybacked on the little mini coprocessor in a watch like the Pixel Watch to give us that same kind of functionality. So it's cool. It is cool that they helped work with OnePlus to do that, but you could make that a bigger part of the Wear OS experience for your own products, and then you wouldn't be as concerned by a thirsty watch face, because you could go 2 days, 3 days on a single charge. I'm just saying.
And it deserves to be said. So,
I've got one more good news. I've got a good piece of good news for Wear OS, and that is something that Mishaal wrote up for Android Authority, and that is that Android alerts are going to be coming to your watch, and they already exist on your phone, and generally speaking, they alert a user to both the magnitude and epicenter of an earthquake. And there's actually 2 different like user experiences depending on the severity of the earthquake. If it's kind of like a leg shaking, you're just going to get a notification and be like, hey, like this thing is happening over there. Things might shake. If it's actually a serious event, you will get a much more up in your face warning, as well as like the traditional, like if you scroll down wrong, you can actually see it for the video stream. The and I forgot drop, cover, and hold.
the take action alert.
Which much more in your face. And of course, I mean, I don't think anyone could argue that this is a good thing, especially coming to watches. Mishaal, you made a really great point that, in an emergency situation, a lot of people will leave behind their phones, but hopefully if you have your watch, there's not a watch. But if you had a watch.
Hang on. In an emergency situation, will people leave behind their phones?
Well,
No.
this
I
is
mean,
more
if
about
they're-
like if you're like going on a run and you take only your cellular enabled watch with you.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you left behind your phone, you wouldn't get these earthquake alerts. But
Yeah.
now with this feature rolling out in Wear OS, you would be able to get those alerts.
Fair point. Yeah.
And,
That's
and
Yeah,
honestly,
just
just
another
having the what do you call that? The redundancy.
Yeah,
Give me
absolutely.
both. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I live in an earthquake prone state, and I'm hoping that this kind of service will eventually start plugging into other things too. Like we're starting to gear up for more wildfires out here.
Yeah.
So that'd be great if there was the redundancy on getting alerts if we need to pack an evac. Let's just go anything that's got that data connection. Just give me the heartbeat on that.
Yeah, I mean, I know not all of us wear our watches at night, like our sunglasses, but if you do wear your watch at night, that is, I mean, I actually like, this is my Whoop, this is not a watch, but I like haptic alerts better than noise haptics. And I think it's just more, it'll get my attention more because it's on me. So I think, not just that, it's like, I don't know. I just personally find it easier when something's on me and bugging the crap out of me. So there you go.
Speaking of haptics, I nothing to do with earthquake alerts, but I was showing my wife the weather on the Google Weather app, and rain was in the forecast, and the haptics of the rain animation behind the weather app and the phone buzzing with the rain.
Yeah.
She's like, "Why is it doing that? That's so weird. Make it stop." And like it was very disturbing. I'm like, "Oh, I think it's kind of cool. It's very kind of."
It times it with the lightning strikes that animate. It's really cute. My husband came over just to show it to me because Denver's been unusually rainy, and it was so cute. It was so
It's
cute.
so funny.
Ron, I thought with you bringing up haptics, I thought you were going to segue into the next story because it's actually kind of a perfect thing to segue into.
Well, yeah, it is a kind of a good, but I was going to start with that. But who's got Android 16 on their phone so far?
On my personal phone, no.
Yeah, not me either. I've been checking it every day. I'm still on 15. I'm not up to date yet. I don't know why. Unbelievable. But you got it, Juan. You got it on yours.
You don't?
I don't have it. I literally just
I would
checked
be
it.
like the last one. I'm usually the last one, but I've got
I'm on a
QPR 1
Pixel.
Beta 2
I'm on a
and
Pixel.
regular Android 16.
Well, I'm
Pixel 9.
on regular Pixel 9 Pro, and I'm not doing beta or AOSP. Oh, wow. So when are you installing it right
It
now on
says
your phone?
preparing system update, so we'll see how well this goes. I have
Alright,
a
so-
backup
Well, it might also take you like 2 hours to finish.
So
It's okay. That's all it takes, right?
So I just checked, and it says your device is up to date, and it says Android version 15, Google Play system update May 1st, 2025. So I'm still waiting for Android 16, which might be okay because with any sort of rollout, there's always some bumps and some hiccups. And as Mishaal mentioned, haptics and that sort of thing, reports of Android 16 causing unresponsive navigation buttons and gestures on Pixel phones started to emerge as folks started reporting getting very, very annoyed and having no response to navigation gestures and buttons on a bug that's causing the controls on their phone to freeze and happen throughout the day. I don't know. This article that we're looking at is dated a couple of days ago. Mishaal, has there been any update? Has Google acknowledged this, or has there been any movement on this as a topic? Or
Actually, I just saw, let's see. So Artem Rusakowski, the founder of Android Police and APK Mayor, actually posted earlier this morning that he heard from Googlers that this black button bug has been fixed internally and will roll out in the next update.
Okay. All right.
He
So there we
posted
go.
that update on X.
All right. What is his handle again? I forget. Is it
Artem R. I'll post the link in the chat.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that'd be great. So that is an update there on this. So here we go. There it is.
So yeah, if you're looking for a fix, it should be coming soon, hopefully in the next update.
So if you're on Android 16 and you've been experiencing this, the non-responsive gestures and non-responsive navigation, that's got to be mind-bending frustration. But hopefully this is as if Artem is correct that it is indeed fixed internally, and he posted a video of it actually happening where you can see it occurring, and that's got to be mind-bendingly
Frustrating.
annoying.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because
exactly.
the first note I saw in my update, which I just pressed start on, is like improved navigation animations and haptics. So,
Yep.
Improved animations and haptics, but you can't go back.
So if you're experiencing this or experienced it, write in, let us know if and we'll keep an eye and see if the fix actually does roll out.
This is the luckiest I've ever gotten. I got the Android update like hour 1 that Google pushed it out, and I don't have the back gesture problem. I am just batting 1,000 this time.
Sure.
I'm
That you
feeling
know
real
yet.
good.
That you know yet.
I'm rating it pretty hard for the weekend. I feel like it would have started popping up by now.
Yeah. I wonder how the rollout works, because I got all excited when I did check for update last week when they rolled this out, and it was like installing update, and I realized I was still on the April security update. I hadn't installed May yet, so I wonder if the fact that I waited so long on May put me to the back of the line to get 16. I don't know if that's how it works or
What carrier?
T-Mobile.
Is your
T-Mobile.
Okay, so
Did you buy it through T-Mobile?
No.
Okay, then that shouldn't matter.
Yeah, no. I mean, this is the
Yeah.
review.
I mean,
this is the review
it is.
unit,
They're not
this
going to
is-
push to 100% on the day of launch.
Sure,
right?
yeah, no,
So
yeah. But I wonder
for
how
safety, they're not going to do that.
How do they segment the people, right? Do they segment the people based off how long ago they installed the last update? Is that a way they do it? Is that the rollout? Like, who knows? So,
I feel like I got lucky because my backup line is Google Fi. So maybe that's
prioritizing,
that just
maybe?
put me
Yeah.
front of the line. Maybe that's why this time it worked out my way.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be. Who knows?
I'm also
Who
on
even
Google
knows?
Fi though, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're getting it right now.
Right now, they waited until the show, the next show, I guess. So.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the news. And we have a lovely pandering patron pick. Patron news pick
Pandering
this week.
patron pick.
Yeah.
Yes, it is time for the patron pick every week. We select 3 stories for our lovely patrons to vote on. In fact, we also invite patrons to select patron pick possibilities for our perusal. There you go. I don't know if I have any more push
So
sounds
much
in me,
alliteration.
but yeah, so we put them up every Monday, and you have until basically today to 2 p.m. PT on show day to vote. And this week we got not just the patron pick, but as always, a nice. This I see. That's why it's pandering. We also request hero images for the patron pick, and this week is pandering because whenever something really appeals to Ron, whether it be pinball or baseball, we know it's for Ron because y'all love Ron so much, and this week it's the Mets.
They
It's the
figured
Mets.
out who's doing the posts, and so
Yeah,
they're
they
starting to
did.
do bug droid images that will get my attention. So bravo to Jose Javier Espada, who sent in bug droids dressed in the Mets baseball uniform and some horrible AI generation with the interlocking New York logo on their hats, which just did not work out. But considering that the Mets are the best team in baseball right now, I'm like, yeah, let's go with it. So, sorry, Juan, if you're bleeding Dodger blue these days because they're not.
It's the contentious household. I'm actually a Red Sox fan. My wife is a
Oh,
hardcore
wow.
Dodgers fan.
Oh, okay.
And
Sorry
when
about
we
yours.
last met at the World Series, it was dicey.
Yes. Well, I'm
The
sorry
future
about
of
your
our
recent.
marriage was-
I'm even more so sorry about your recent loss this weekend of Devers. So that's
It happens.
All right.
You know,
I don't want to
it's
deviate into baseball. Well, yeah, but
You
anyway,
pick
so-
yourself up, you move on. It's just what
Well-
happens.
But you can email us at contact@androidfaithful.com, and you can send in your bug droid AI generated images to get on there. And when they're really good, I post them over to our social, and you can go to Instagram and you can see this image if you didn't see it. If you're not watching the live stream right now, if you're listening to the audio podcast, you can see it on our Instagram. So
Yeah, and thank you so much, Jose Javier Espada, for pandering. And do it, just pander. Ron, you know what? Ron's a delightfully open person to pandering. Do it. If it works.
I will also challenge. Don't just pander to me. Pander to Win, pander to Mishaal, pander to Jason. We've all got interests. Zero in on their hobbies.
Kettlebell
That's
androids.
okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kettlebell androids.
Yeah, kettlebell androids.
Ron will grab it for me.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, the
Okay.
tough thing with Mishaal is that you're then doing bug droids of bug droids.
I mean, bug droidception. It could be like a jawbreaker android where it's like just a lot of layers of androids, just all together. Something like that. And it's just fuzzy on the outside. All right. Well, if we want to talk about the 3 picks for this week, and don't forget that even though 2 out of 3 of these stories may lose, if you're a patron, or if you just happen to listen to After Hours for the next couple weeks, to this next week or so, is it week? 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Next 2 weeks. Next 2 weeks. This week and
Next
next
2
week.
weeks. You still get to hear us talk about the less winning stories. So if you want to hear what that's like, stay around or rather listen later to After Hours. But one of the first stories that we won't be talking about right now is about how Huawei's next trifold phone is reportedly coming in September. That had 7% of the vote. And I know we probably talked a lot about the Mate XT last year. Maybe y'all are just like really tired of trifolds, but that's that. The second story that we aren't going to be talking about right now, but we'll be talking about later, is about Google killing off Android Instant apps, but you probably won't miss them. That is very true. Android dev, I have 100% raise my hand, agree on that one with 25% of the vote. What you all do want us to talk about is figuring out what Gemini app features are free versus paid. And you know what? That's a really excellent question because it is quite confusing. And no, this isn't strictly an Android story, but it's AI. I mean, AI and mobile, and particularly Android, are just inextricably linked, for better, for worse, for the future. So it is really interesting just because this kind of the table for this that I have to admit I did get, ironically, generative AI to help me make was a little bit complicated because there are different, subscription tiers for Gemini, from free, Google AI Pro, and Google AI Ultra, but there's also different models. And so really the amount you pay gives you a certain amount of access to certain models. And the more you pay, the, let's say, fancier models, and the more access to them do you get. So And oh man, is Google AI Ultra expensive at $250 a month? Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
I think
that's what they announced at Google I/O. That was the new big
Yeah.
tier for like, and that's for real AI professionals.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that gives access to everything. And that was like for the people who are paying for the ChatGPT has a similarly priced Insano level, right? OpenAI has a similar level of that. So that's that.
Yeah, it's not quite the $10,000. I think it was like OpenAI or someone has like your own developer agent, which is going to replace people like me, maybe, who knows. But it is pretty expensive. There is a Google AI Pro for those of you who want a little bit more access for $19.99 a month. But yeah, so free will get you access to 2.5 Flash, which is the default, and limited access to 2.5 Pro. Usually limited access has a lot to do with like how many queries you do a day. If you pay for Google AI Pro, you do get more access to that 2.5 Pro model and up to 100 queries a day. And if you are just needing that Google AI Ultra for work or just for your own personal and need all that AI in your life, it is the highest access to both 2.5 Pro, 2.5 Pro Deep Think mode, as well as the agent mode, which is upcoming. So, I mean, not to go into too much detail, like, obviously as the models get more complex, you have more of that context window, which is more or less the short-term memory of your conversation with the AI bot. So obviously the more context that it can keep in the conversation, the more complex and kind of maybe like more just like complicated queries it can answer. There's things like file uploads that you can bring into a conversation. On the free mode, you can basically do like docs, like any kind of Google Docs, Word docs, plain text files, rich text files, that kind of thing, as well as PowerPoint or PPTX files or Google Slides files. If you do at least Google AI Pro, you get that as well as spreadsheets and data files, which you can kind of see where that might be a little bit more useful, especially with the benefit of a generative AI to be able to process data like Excel spreadsheets, Google Sheets, simple CSV and TSV files. And you also get from the Pro, which again is that first paid tier up, you even get like analysis and visualization, which sounds actually pretty dang neat. Something else that you do get at the paid at any of the paid levels and not just the free level is the ability to upload code files, C, C++, Python, Java, PHP, all that kind of stuff, as well as entire repositories, not just individual files, but repositories. So again, just more capability and more processing power and the ability to kind of do more work stuff. If I can say it that way, with the paid versions. Something else that's interesting, kind of along with the idea of a context window, is also being the ability and the capacity with which a model references past chats. If you're just using the free Gemini version, it actually will reference saved info from chat preferences in an interesting way. So like if you say something like, an example given is like, say, I'm a vegetarian, or if you kind of ask Gemini, hey, can you make the responses more concise? Even on the free version, it will remember that you asked it those things and use that in kind of future answers, which is really cool. If you have the Pro version, it takes that kind of even to a deeper level and can actually reference and summarize previous conversations. So the general theme is the more you pay, the more information that Gemini can use and will use to kind of chat with you and respond to you and meet whatever like prompts and requests that you're making of it. Image generation is kind of the same off the board. Video generation is not available on Gemini free, but it is available on both the Pro and Ultra. Ultra has like VO3 with sound effects and audio. There's some limits on clips per day with Ultra, as well as like, which model it's using.
Yeah, and that's the real limit on Pro. You only get 8-second clips, whereas Ultra you can do longer clips with the VO3.
So,
yeah.
Well,
I guess oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, Ultra, you also don't get longer clips through Gemini, but you can access Flow to create like movies and
the
stuff
tool.
like that.
Yeah.
So really, honestly, pointing to a very professional kind of target for the Ultra market, both like obviously in the price and the output. You can get up to 10 active scheduled actions with any of the models. So that's interestingly, I know it's weird because I feel like we keep getting emails vaguely related to this. And
we got a lot of emails from Gemini about setting reminders and things like that. So this isn't exactly that, but scheduled actions is the idea.
Scheduled actions,
specifying a predefined prompt to run something at a certain time. Yeah.
And regardless of what level you're at, you can have up to 10 active at any one time. And I don't know if that's just because they're it's not a priority right now, or that's the limit they're setting right now, or whether with agentic stuff, who knows, like what the deal is there. But kind of like, just to top it off, Gemini Live camera and screen sharing is available on all 3 versions. So if you are liking those things, you can have them all. But that's hopefully a little bit clearer about what you're getting at each, price level. Obviously, Ultra, again, probably not most people listening to the show, but if that helps, let you all decide whether Ultra, or not Ultra, but Pro rather, is something that's interesting to you, and that you might get something really beneficial from Gemini. Go ahead, check it out.
So this was actually a patron news submission. So last week's one of the patrons submitted this as an article to consider, and we put it into the patron vote, and it got the most amount of votes. And I think that reflects the fact that this didn't clear it up. Like, it is infinitely confusing.
Yeah,
right?
And I think it's made worse by the fact that Google frequently shifts what features are available for free and paid users. Yeah. Sometimes just out of a feature going viral, they're like, "Hey, this feature's going viral. Let's open it up to everyone." That happened with the camera and the screen sharing feature, which was like initially available only for Gemini Advanced, and then like 2 weeks later available for everyone.
Yep. Like I know I have Google One, so I think I get Pro. I think I'm on that level. I don't even know what I have. Right? I don't know what I have. What are those models? Like I talked to somebody at Google I/O about this. I was like, I think there's a real, everyone at Google is living and breathing this and absolutely understands it. And when I'm curious if you as a developer who's using AI tools, like, I think there's an assumption that, well, the people who need to know it get it too, but like the millions of other common people who are having this shoved down our throats, we don't get it.
It doesn't bring other people in. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned that. Oh, I was going to post my table into some chat for people, but it's formatted ugly. So it's interesting because I think a lot of tech companies are open to using these features. And yes, I would love to use Gemini for coding, but what I use every day is Android Studio. And actually, I can't use Gemini in Studio yet because of kind of rules that my company has on licensing and needing an enterprise license for things, just to, I think, also to, while evaluating AI, also keep the cost down, because this is not cheap stuff, and usually enterprises pay for this by the seat. So ironically, no, I cannot use the Gemini features that I want to use, which is specifically in Android Studio, all those wonderful things that y'all talk to, the Google folks during I/O on. I actually can't use this at work just because it's still kind of like a time where tech companies are figuring out, okay, how do we want to do this and how do we want to license this? So
it's just infinitely confusing. It's
confusing, and that's probably also why they're cautious. They don't want to end up paying for something that ends up being free, or just anyway.
Because of exactly that, I've still been running my little Juan AI bot challenge. I have an old laptop that I'm running GPT for all. I'm playing with a couple different models on it, but I have saved literally every document and script I've ever written. So it's got 15 years of document files that I can search through the GPT. It's completely offline. It's not online. It's not a cloud service. It's an app you can run, and then you can install other models if you want to play with Llama or some of these other like GPT products. And I have my own little Juan chatbot, and I can reference 15 years of my documents and scripts and stuff. And it gets a lot of things wrong. But it's like, that's all free. You just need the compute power to run it. So I really want people to kind of look at how confusing some of these web services are. If you want to tinker just a little bit, it's installing a program and downloading a model. And then you can play with some of this stuff on your own. And then that might inspire, like, hey, maybe I do want to pay for a pro plan because I want to do some of this more advanced Gemini stuff, because I know Gemini is definitely a better model than anything I can run for free. But to get your sea legs and to kind of figure out what this stuff can do, try building your own. It's really not that intimidating, and it's a lot of fun to kind of see what it comes up with.
It's curious. I don't know. I'm trying to plug Gemini into my workflows and into my life and stuff like that, and it's not really.
But you never know where you're going to run into that limit, or you never know, like, oh, this is actually
what
something
do I
that could have been
use, or which is the right thing, or whatever. Yeah. So, And the times that I have, it just makes dumb mistakes, and it just is like, like where I'll tell it, oh, well, I'm doing something on Tuesday or whatever. Like, well, great. Well, considering that today's Wednesday, I'm like, well, no, today's Tuesday, right? Like it just gets dumb things wrong, and it's frustrating. So.
I mean, even while prepping my show notes, like I read every article first, but I usually Claude, for example. I mean, Claude's great, but it usually generates a table for me better than I can do it. But I already noticed like it did something wrong. Like it said something was available that wasn't, and I kind of basically redid the query, and it got it right the second time.
No rhyme or reason.
Caught it on the first bounce.
Yeah, and it's a good thing that I'm actually checking my notes, like, and making sure that
what drives me crazy is like at work, one of my coworkers uses ChatGPT, and so I use it as well. And when I catch things wrong, I'll be like, no, actually, it's this. And what I can't stand is the rhetoric. Oh, thanks for pointing that out. You're absolutely right. Let me update that. Like, shut up. Like, it's
well, I mean, that's
and
the
that
thing.
just burned like 6 bottles of water.
Exactly.
No,
I know. Yeah, because you needed to be
seriously.
friendly in admitting a mistake. Oh God.
That's
Anyway.
fine if it's a person,
Yeah.
but not for something that people are treating like, expecting like some level of like not Wikipedia, but
it's
encyclopedia.
it's a disingenuous
Yes,
mistake.
it
it's
is.
like, thanks for pointing that out. I'll fix that right away. Oh God.
Ron,
Generate
imagine if
every
it was
2
like a
days.
Google Home, and instead of just typing that out, it said that every single time.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Drive me crazy. All right. Anyway, let's move on though. Win.
Yeah, wrap it up. We do want to make sure that we shout out and thank so much some of our patrons every week. And this week we want to thank Henry D. Woods for being a patron. Of course, we say it all the time, and maybe y'all getting sick of it, but we literally could not do this show without you. 99 episodes. I don't think we hoped we get here, but it's really wonderful to be here. So thank you, Henry D. Woods and our other patrons, for helping us get here. And obviously, 99 episodes is all because of you guys. So thank you.
We're very excited to get to 100. But before we do that, we got some more show on 99 to talk about. And next up is hardware, which we'll get to right after this quick break. And with that, before we get into hardware, I do want to tease that I got a little something in the mail. I forgot to mention, I got the Moto Razr. I'm very excited to find. I know it's been out for a while, but I got my hands on it. I unboxed it earlier. I'm toying with making it my daily driver. I haven't decided yet, but
awesome.
I might give it its paces. So we will see. But Flo, Jason, and I all have Moto Razrs, so we're going to be talking about it on next week's show. In fact, so that's a little tease for episode 100. But before that, Mishaal, we've got some Pixel 10's rumor mills going on, don't we?
Yeah, we have some exciting news potentially about the Pixel 10 series. So those of you who have been eagerly waiting for Android phones with Qi2 charging support have been kind of disappointed because there's only one Android phone on the market with proper Qi2 magnetic charging support, and that's the HMD Skyline, which is, to be frank, a phone that probably none of you have, right?
If you do have, write in and let us know.
If
that
you have
have
it, yeah,
it.
let us know
Send
how
in
it
a
is,
photo.
right?
Yeah, approve
Right.
it.
If you have it and you're not a reviewer.
So there are rumors that Google might be building proper support for Qi2, specifically the Qi 2.2 standard, which allows for magnetic charging and a faster than 15-watt charging speed. So that Google might be building a series of accessories labeled Pixel Snap or marketed under the Pixel Snap brand, including a regular charger, a charger that stands up, and a ring stand that, kind of like props up. There are rumors that Google is working on these 3 accessories that might be Qi 2.2 compatible. And there are some conflicting reports between my colleagues in Android Authority and as well as another leak from Android Headlines about whether the Pixel 10 itself will have built-in magnets, or if you'll need this first-party Pixel Snap case to be able to actually take advantage of Qi 2.2 magnetic charging.
Which is that's what happened with the OnePlus.
That's what happened
right?
with Samsung.
Yeah.
With the S25 series, it's Qi2 ready, which
Right.
basically means it's certified to be compatible with Qi2 products if you get a Qi2 compatible case first, which kind of defeats the purpose of the certification and everything, kind of muddies the water because you're kind of expecting Qi2 means magnetic charging. But actually, if you have Qi2 ready, doesn't mean the phone itself has magnets in it to magnetically snapped chargers.
Right.
But hopefully, the Pixel 10 will have those magnets. but it might not. In which case, you'll have to get one of those cases that adds a compatibility.
Yeah, I mean, like, because I've been playing with the Peak Design cases where it has both Peak Design System and MagSafe compatible magnets. But I wanted to ask y'all, we have Qi2. Now we're going to have another brand name like Pixel Snap. And if we want more Android devices to start getting this functionality, at some point, don't we just need to come up with a name like MagSafe instead of having multiple formats of compatible products?
Well, Qi2 is the
right.
name.
But
I would argue something a little more consumer friendly than is Qi2. Like,
yeah.
You know, we've struggled with pronouncing Qi2 for how many years, Mishaal? Like, we've been talking about this, right? Like, all right.
But then now it's going to be, does this Pixel Snap charger work with my Samsung Mag Pro, device?
Yeah,
like,
it's going to be, I mean,
whatever.
It's Qi2. If it's Qi2, it'll work with other
Sure,
Qi2 devices.
Sure.
Right, but how do you know it's Qi2,
this.
right? Like that, right? Exactly. The common normal user, my sister.
I mean, the thing is, you're not going to get a consistent name without the Wireless Power Consortium changing the name from Qi to something else.
Right.
Like Google has nothing to do with that.
But then doesn't that mean when companies start putting their own name and flavor on this, that's going to be the consumer confusion that it contributes to the consumer confusion, where Apple can just say everything is MagSafe, and is one of the few things I've actually been really happy to see them contribute to a standard. They helped it birth Qi2, but I mean, now we've got multiple naming conventions, and now consumers won't know if what they buy is going to be compatible.
It's similar to the USB-C Thunderbolt confusion, all that Apple introduced with all, like, is it Thunderbolt or is it USB-C, or is it is, it kind of is, it's not, like yeah. So it complicates things. It does. The need to have brand identity does make things more complicated, and the consumer pays for it, unfortunately.
So. Like, I was really happy that there wasn't a special VOOC flavor of OnePlus charging case. It was just, this is a Qi2 case.
Yeah.
It's a MagSafe compatible case. And you're like, okay, I know what that means.
Keep it simple and make it common and make it enough. Like, that's why USB was great, because it was a universal. It was in the name, right? It was like, oh, it's a USB charger, right? Okay, cool, yeah. So.
Oh, how far we've strayed.
Yeah, exactly. So. All right. Well, speaking of Apple and things like that, the unthinkable is happening. It is insane. When this news hit, I think the number of people who sent it to me in shock. But the crazy people over at Vivo have started teasing their next foldable, the Vivo X Fold 5, and that would be one thing on its own, because the Vivo X Fold series has been interesting enough. But with the sharing of the Vivo X Fold 5, they have promised compatibility with Apple products, namely the Apple Watch and iCloud. So as they've teased it, they've shown that the Vivo X Fold 5 would be able to connect with the Apple Watch Series 9 watch here in their own marketing asset here. And then the Vivo X Fold 5 being used as an extended screen with a MacBook Air M4 with iCloud capability, which is just bananas. So somehow they've broken through the Apple walled garden. I will believe this when I see it, but here they are marketing it, so it must be real. It must be happening. And this would be the first Android phone to have Apple Watch support. You'd be able to see incoming calls and text messages on an Apple Watch. And then health data recorded on the watch would be able to be synced over to the health app on Vivo. And then they said that the phone itself can connect to iCloud, and then it can act as an extended screen on your Mac computer, and work with AirPods through Mac's remote control connection. So Vivo bridging the gap between Apple and Android. Do you guys believe this is real?
I mean, I believe it's real, but they're going to get beepered, aren't they? Not to be rude about it. They're going to get beepered.
I'm so glad you turned that into like a verb.
Thank you. I was very proud. I couldn't wait.
It's real, actually comprehensive. Like you listed some things, right? But that was like basic things.
Sure, but they're basic
what
things that
features
Apple
will be
does. Those
missing?
are
Like, if
basic
you
things
put
that
a
Apple
table-
doesn't allow.
Yeah.
Or they make difficult to.
Yeah, they
I
make
don't actually
difficult,
know if
yes,
they don't
yeah.
allow to.
Yeah.
I think you have been able to pair other devices in the past, just very limited in what you can do.
Yeah.
That's kind of why no one else is really bothered.
Yeah.
Well, and Apple also makes like their accessory bridge one way so that they don't have any competition for Apple Watch and AirPods and things like that. So I'm kind of with the consensus here, and what Huyen was saying. It'll work great for about a week, and then Apple will go nah and push out an update, and then things will get weird. And
Well, so
they'll-
are Vivo phones available in the US, or they're not?
No.
Right. So will Apple care? Right?
Oh, I think Apple will definitely
they
care.
will care.
In
In
China,
China?
sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
they'll definitely care. Yeah.
All right. We'll see.
I mean, I guess as Michael C. pointed out in the chat, that it is good press for Vivo either way. You know, it's kind of a win-win for them. We congratulate them now for having the ingenuity to do it. And when Apple inevitably shuts it down, we know whose side we know whose side we will lean towards. Not that I necessarily disagree with Apple's right to shut it down, but for sure.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll see. We'll go on Vivo Watch 2025 as this comes out. See if they get beepered.
I love it.
All right. So in tablet news, Mishaal, what do we got from Boox?
So we have a new tablet from Boox, who were well known for making e-ink devices. They are unveiling the new Boox Tab XC, kind of a mouthful, kind of an odd combination of letters there. The color ePaper tablet with a thinner design and Android 13 out of the box. So a lot of these kind of e-ink alternative Android tablets tend to run older versions of Android just because that's the processor they ship with tend to support. But this device does come with full support for Google Play Store apps. So that kind of does give it a bit more flexibility in terms of what you can install or easily procure compared to a lot of other Android-based e-ink devices. This device, although it's going to be really pricey. There's no other way to say it. It's going to start at $819, and that is a hefty price for specs including 6 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage. It's like really mid-range. I would say kind of low-end specs for 2025. But the display is the killer feature, because you cannot find a display like this on the vast majority of other tablets, right? It's an actual e-ink display, so it uses completely different technology than LCD and OLED. Much more comfortable on the eyes. You can use it in direct sunlight comfortably. It's the closest thing you can get to actual paper. And this is a color e-ink display, so it can actually produce color. Not very good, but it can show color. So if you want to read comics on it,
it's not vibrant. It's not
vibrant, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to be watching movies. Like the refresh rate is still terrible, right? You're definitely not watching videos on this thing. But if you need to see color in documents or in comics or something, you can. And that is, I guess, the big differentiator between like this device and regular tablets. And the fact that this thing has a big 13.3-inch display means you can genuinely use it for a lot of things you might do. Like if your primary focus is documents, reading comics, and things like that, and that's what you're going to be doing all the time, and you're also going to be like using the pen to write stuff, this is the kind of device for you. But it is $820.
I mean, this is definitely. I mean, for me, what jumps out at me is the fact that it's also 5.3 millimeters thick.
Yeah, super thin.
Super thin. And if you go through the Boox website and look at it, I mean, they are definitely positioning it way more on the productivity side of things than on the entertainment side of things. Like, yes, you can use it as an e-reader, you can use it to read books, like you mentioned, Mishaal, you use it to read comics, but like they're like productivity left and right, showing spreadsheets, showing graphs, showing Miro is one of the apps that they show on the desktop, and Medium and things like that. So it is definitely, if you are someone who is on the go and writing or whatever it might be from spreadsheets and that sort of thing, it's an interesting approach, that's for sure.
I have
Yeah.
a smaller Boox and I really like it, and I actually use it
Same.
for reading like manga and stuff. And reading it's wonderful, you know. And especially, I mean, this is definitely more productivity, and you shouldn't be working out of bed. But you know, and it also plays into the whole kind of like sorry, you know, mental health, media disconnect
Sure.
thing, screen disconnect thing. But then again, I'm a kind of person who paid for the Remarkable Paper Pro when I already had one, so I'm obviously an e-ink fan. So very biased.
Yeah, I'm gonna be shopping like a little e-reader. Just, I'll probably get a Kobo at some point. I struggle with the Venn diagram overlap of who's really in the market for this as a productivity tool at that price. And I know that I know those people exist. And I know this is the perfect product for them. And I want them to be happy. It's just so hard in my brain to position that. And I immediately get turned off these days when thin is one of the major selling
Points. Yes.
I mean, like my OnePlus tablet is 5.9 millimeters thick, and I don't know that half a millimeter is a deal breaker in carrying this thing.
And that's the other challenge. Like, and Mishaal and I were talking about this in the pre-show. Like, the OnePlus Pad 3 recently came out, and this is like a flagship iPad Pro kind of competition device, and it is cheaper than the Boox, right? It is a $699 tablet, which has got 12 gig of RAM, 256 gig of memory, full color. You can watch media on it. You can do the productivity stuff. They send you a stylus, like you can do all that sort of stuff. So like the novelty of the e-ink and the display, right?
The
like
display is a huge differentiator. Like seeing it side by side.
Yeah.
It's
but
a
even
big
to that point, it like look at what we immediately do when something's thin. We get a folio case or we get a keyboard case. It's almost a laptop at that point. Right. Thin basically just means a lack of features. Even on Boox, they don't show it by itself.
No, yeah.
They show it accessorized with all this other stuff. And like I was going back to some of my other tablets. If we go to 7 millimeters, it's still thinner than the included stylus. But I have my Robo Ancala, which is a full Windows machine, and that extra millimeter gives me an integrated kickstand on a hinge. And I'd rather have that as a feature because the product would be more complete. And then I don't have a camera bulge because it's 1 millimeter thicker. So it lays perfectly flat.
But as
thin
they're talking
is a
about
lack of feature.
True, fair point. But as they're also talking about in the chat, you know, the e-ink display does give you a longer battery life and like the extended experience. And if you're traveling or whatever, you don't have to worry about charging and that sort of thing. So pros and cons.
You still do.
Yeah,
I mean, you still gotta worry about charging it. And the more you're running like lower power hardware, if you're trying to do like big spreadsheets and stuff, you're gonna hate your life. On a low refresh rate display, on a low power.
The thing that gets me is like the refresh. Like if you're seeing data change a lot, it's gonna get frustrating. Yeah.
Oh, so. I tried to browse on my Boox once, and I thought I was gonna anyway.
Mine is purely a manga reading device.
Yeah, and even then I kind of look away when you turn the page.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you one. Number one, it is hilarious that the tablet is thinner than the stylus. For some reason, that's just freaking hilarious to me.
At 7 millimeters, that's
so. That's hilarious. For some reason, that just seems really funny to me. Have you ever tried any of the TCL Next Paper devices? And I don't know, where do you slot those in?
So I have, this is funny because like I've done Team TCL events and stuff, and I go up to them and I'm like, hey, I live in a tiny condo that is weird and horseshoe shaped. There is no point in my house that I can do a TV, but I would really love to spend some time with your tablets and phones. And they're like, cool, we'll definitely put you on the reviewer list. By the way, do you want an 80-inch TV? And I can't do anything with the TV. So I've seen them in person and I've played with them and stuff. And I like the approach. And I think philosophically, there's something really cool about, hey, if we desaturate, if we make this a little less vibrant, it's easier on the eyes. I think there's an untapped market in education where that kind of screen display tech would maybe go a long way for students. They have to look at these screens. They're probably sitting too close. They're staring at them longer. But at the same time, I can pick up an LCD or I can pick up an OLED and I can desat myself, or I can go into grayscale in the accessibility features. Like, I've actually just published a video primer on that again. I've been talking about that for 12 years now. My first video on streamlining and unplugging from your device was literally 12 years ago. So at this point, I'm not as impressed with these sort of corollary screen technologies unless it's purpose built. I am picking up an e-reader or a comic book reader, and I want something that's going to resemble paper for that experience. Cool. If it's an all-purpose computing device, any screen technology at this point, you can get kind of close to these other experiences if you tinker in your screen settings a bit.
Okay.
All right. Food for thought.
Awesome.
All right, a couple of quick hits before we wrap up hardware. When
Yeah.
the Samsung rumor mill?
Yeah, honestly, Ron, I think they're pandering to you this time as well. So we don't have a specific date for the summer version of what has usually been the summer version of Samsung Galaxy Unpacked, where foldables and most recently, their health focused wearables are, for this year are announced. But we seem to have a really, really big clue, and it's because of a run, which is why I say it panders to Ron. So, Samsung is really, really going into, their identity as part of this health market with the Galaxy, with the Galaxy Watch series and all of the different like integrations and things that they've announced over the years. Of course, they introduced their own Ring last year, and that is not letting up. They are continuing to try to make themselves a big player in the health space. So, in that vein, Samsung actually announced a series of Samsung Health events for runners and Galaxy wearable users, and they kick off in New York City on July 13th. So everyone just feels like that's a big pointer, right? Because the summer one is not just the foldable event, but also the health wearable event. And if they're kicking off events in July 13th, and traditionally, I think the last 4 years, Samsung Galaxy Unpacked Summer has been August, July. It just feels like a great thing for them to include in their keynote, right? That, hey, we've got these different events starting with the NYC Runs Queens Ice Cream Social 5K. By the way, if you're interested, it is open to the public and you can register. I think the details are, on the NYC Runs webpage, but they've also partnered with like other local groups. Sorry, I lost my notes on this. They have partnered with a couple other, like running clubs. Oh, Almost Friday Run Club and Midnight Runners in New York to do all these different events. And part of the events, of course, being kind of Samsung affiliated events, will be, quote, interactive rest stations for runners. Each of them will have a hydration station and stretching area. And it's basically kind of highlighting some of the new, like the energy score tool and sleep data insights, kind of basically all those kind of like optimization features that a lot of smartwatches, health-oriented smartwatches have for helping you kind of figure out like how much cardio, how much energy, that kind of thing you can do, and kind of integrating it into these like run events. So, I mean, again, this is not like an actual leak or something announcement. It's just that it makes sense that they would probably do these in conjunction with a new whatever their recent generation of wearables.
It sure seems like if Samsung's setting up shop in New York in July, that's right around when we're expecting another hardware event, that maybe that they would do stuff in and around that. We'll see.
Yeah. I
Who
mean,
knows?
I'm half expecting that's going to be the thing. That's going to be part of their keynote, because
it could be a red herring. It could just be a coincidence. It could be part of a larger thing until they announce the actual event. Well, who knows? But that said, it's June 17th, and that event is July 13th. So it's like less than a month away.
Yeah.
So who knows what they're going to do? I will say, after you want.
Oh, go ahead. Finish.
I was going to say, I will say I have run in Queens where they're having that ice cream social thing, and running in July is just brutal. So like they need hydration stations and stuff like that because it is not fun. So.
Make really good use of that kind of like energy score tool.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry,
But
Ron.
even if it's not the biggie though, this is kind of encouraging because Samsung used to do a lot of these like lifestyle events that would overlap with their big product. I mean, even back to with their NX cameras. I was in one of their first like dump your old camera, get a new Samsung NX camera event, and that lined up against a Galaxy event, and that lined up against a tablet event. And it would be nice to see Samsung kind of find some of that synergy lifestyle fun again.
Yeah.
That was my favorite era of Samsung, is when they would do a lot of those just pop-up events, and you could show up and do a run and get some ice cream, or that would go into their wearables, and then that would lead into an unpacked. Like, just make it fun. Find some fun again.
Fun is good. So
Ron, would you run for Samsung if they somehow sponsored their show, like sponsored?
sure.
us or
Oh, if they
something?
sponsor the show, I would. Geez, yeah, I would glad.
Get that Samsung cash.
I will run a half marathon Samsung if you want me to, and I'll wear your watch. I'll do whatever you want if you want to. Just call me. Gladly do it. Happy to do it.
Was it their XR headset? You can
Yeah.
do it. You do it in
I'll
AR.
run with the XR headset and whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do,
Oh,
Samsung.
fast track to getting a headache, to getting a migraine.
Or some,
I
don't know.
definitely have a price, so we can talk.
Ron can be pandered and paid,
I
and we
can
are
be
proud
bought.
of Ron
So yeah.
for that.
All right, real quickly, last up in hardware. So Nothing is inching along to the Nothing Phone 3 release, and I really think it's interesting in how they're handling the marketing, because we all know it's coming, and they're slowly teasing and revealing stuff to the point when it's out, we're going to really know everything. And the most recent reveal, actually this happened earlier today, they confirmed that the Nothing Phone 3 will be a true flagship, and it's going to be powered by the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4. So they confirmed the processor inside the Nothing Phone 3 as we get closer to the the formal announcement or release or unveiling of the Phone 3. So we'll be seeing what more they have under the hood with the Nothing Phone 3. We've already seen kind of stuff about the back, how they're changing the glyph and doing stuff like that. But there's more coming to it. And Carl Pei shared that they said that they really have to outperform their previous flagship compared to the Phone 2. This is going to be 36% faster on CPU and 88% stronger on GPU and 60% stronger on NPU. So they want it to feel a lot snappier. So that is what they are doing. Everything will be enhanced, as they're saying. So more to come on the Nothing Phone 3 as we await the formal release of it. So, yep. And I did see that they're like gearing up to do a major push in the U.S., whereas previous phones have not pushed as hard in the U.S. So we'll see how that goes. So,
do they have
they're gonna
direct sales yet?
No,
pseudo.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
think in their
Yeah.
previous their 2A and their 3A series, they were sold in the US through a beta program.
That's right. That's
Basically
right. Okay.
means like they weren't. I think that means like
Officially
they weren't like
official,
officially
yeah.
like certified or tested through the carriers. But this time they will be sold not through carriers. Like you're not going to go to a AT&T T-Mobile store, but they're going to be certified to work on the bigger
Okay.
carriers at least,
Yep.
and they're going to be officially supporting their phones that they're going to be releasing. Is what they said.
Nice.
All right. So that's it for hardware. So we're going to take a quick break. We come back. We got a couple of app stories and a couple of your emails. So we'll get to that right after this. All right. Win, why don't you tell us about your friend, the Moto Tag?
I will tell you about my slightly neglected friend, the Moto Tag. This is a little bit of a hybrid story, but Google's Find Hub app, which was formerly Find My Device, has gone through a lot of changes lately, will finally have a tracker with ultra-wide band precision finding capabilities through the Moto Tag. I did buy these. These were the most interesting to me at the time. I find them less interesting because they do use a coin battery, and mine was saying it was low battery after a week of having it. But that's maybe me a problem. But if you have one and you're very happy with it, well, get even happier, especially if you go to the Moto Tag app, do a firmware update. You will then afterwards find that you can now access an ultra wideband interface for finding your tag. It's really cool. There's like a whole material expressive, experience where you hold your phone upright and it has this little like dowsing rod is a bit old school. I feel like I'm really old saying dowsing rod, but like, yeah, it's kind of like that kind of idea where you have like a big arrow in the middle and you kind of like basically play hot potato with your Moto Tag with it. But it's a really great.
I like when you find the tag, the screen actually literally says it's here.
It's here, and you've got
You
like
found
a lovely,
it. It's here.
it's a little understated, but it's got a really beautiful, material expressive shape because it's all about shapes now. So, I mean, and that's it. Like right now, it's just the Moto Tag, but and you do have to hold your phone upright. It seems like that's a thing. I don't know if that's just how the technology and the signaling works. I don't know. But just be aware of that. Google announced, of course, more tracker devices coming, Lego trackers from July and Mokobara, along with Disney theme tags from Pixby. ultra wideband is not confirmed for any of these, but what is confirmed is satellite connectivity for Fine Hub planned later this year. So, I mean, it's been a very bumpy rollout for the Google version of, tagging and tracking, but please let us know if you have a Moto tag. And I wish Technomensch was in chat because I know that the Technomensch has been really, really, really excited about the Moto tags. If you have a Moto tag, let us know if you still use it and how excited you are for ultra wideband because it's here. Congrats.
All right. And that's exciting. And something else exciting is coming, right, Mishaal?
I don't know about exciting. I feel like it's the opposite of exciting. This is people have been fearing what happened for a very long time, and it's finally happening. Meta is introducing ads to WhatsApp. So this is something that, when Meta bought WhatsApp, they acquired them back in 2014 for $19 billion. That's a crazy amount of money, right? They committed at the time to, they weren't going to introduce ads, right? Because the founders of WhatsApp, they created a messaging platform. They hated ads. They didn't want ads to be inserted into their messaging platform. But fast forward to 2025, Meta is spending truckloads of money on AI. They've literally just announced an acquisition earlier this week, multiple billions of dollars. And, they got to make up that money somehow. So it looks like they're going to be starting to monetize WhatsApp. They're taking it step by step. They're not going to be monetized. They're not going to be putting ads within your actual chat feeds, but you're going to start seeing within the channels feature, when you're looking through statuses, updates, you might start seeing some advertisements. You might see promoted channels. You can start subscribing to the channels that, to give them some money and share the revenue with Meta and the creator. You'll start seeing ads as you're swiping through the statuses. So piece by piece, you're going to start seeing ads within WhatsApp. And this is kind of notable because, there was a lot of, when the WhatsApp was acquired by Meta, the co-founders reportedly left Meta in 2018, known at the time as Facebook, over disagreements on how to monetize the app. They're really against the idea of targeted advertisements within WhatsApp, but things have changed, and there's a lot of people who use WhatsApp. Literally billions of users who use it every day. It's the most widely used messaging platform by far. And that's a lot of eyeballs to get in front of advertisers. And I'm honestly surprised it took this long for them to monetize it like this.
I mean, it's funny because the headline is, WhatsApp, it's a New York Times article covering in their technology section. So it's a big deal. And WhatsApp introduces ads in its app is very doom and gloom, because WhatsApp is my primary messaging platform. But the distinction that they're not putting ads in your chats, I think, is huge. And the fact that this is happening in the channel section and in the updates section, which is basically like stories, right? Instagram stories. I never go here. I don't follow any channels. I didn't even know that brands had channels to do in WhatsApp until looking at this story. So it's fine, do this all you want. This isn't for me. You won't have to consume it. I just use the chats. The moment they start breaking into the chats and putting an ad in between my chats, that's the line as far as I'm concerned. I don't know.
Apparently half of WhatsApp's user base actually uses at least the status feature, seeing status updates from friends.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised that they don't, but it's really interesting that none of my community do. No one uses it.
Yeah.
It's rare when I see that dot. And I'm like, oh, who's using that?
To be fair, Ron, it's already kind of rare that, Americans like us are even using WhatsApp.
Yeah, no,
Most
totally.
Americans do not use WhatsApp.
Yeah. The only reason why I use WhatsApp is because it was the bridge between iOS and Android, right? That was it was the way to get, those people together. That's why I'm on it. So, yeah. So. Fascinating. Interesting. Well, I mean, it's hard to argue business. It's hard to argue. They got to pay for this stuff somehow, right? So
I wonder if we'll hear what were the alternatives that they were looking at, because I think a lot of people, a lot of people are privileged and fortunate enough to say, hey, I would happily pay a subscription for WhatsApp to make sure you leave all of this stuff alone. And then there's an entire population of people around the planet that probably can't. What I think would be fine for a $3 or $5 subscription is something that would definitely not be feasible in other parts of the world. So I wonder what the plans might have been to try and monetize something that obviously needs a humongous amount of infrastructure to keep powered with the consistency that they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be curious, and who knows if we'll ever find out what that story is.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, again, it's one of those things we'll never get the peek behind the curtain. But I'm fascinated. Like, how do you keep a service like this running? How does Signal work? How does Telegram work?
Yeah.
It's kind of wild to me that we still build these services, get them to a huge population, past this point of cool, and then they're like, well, I guess we got to figure out how to pay for this.
Yep.
Like, how is it still a business model in this day and age?
As an engineer, I appreciate your curiosity very much, Juan, because it's, I mean, it's because it's just
It's
like,
hard.
it's hard. And it's like, as an engineer, I enjoy the tech part, and I would love to offer most of my things as open source or free. But also, I now work on the commerce team at my job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, our family was talking about running our own little like chat server. And then you think about, like, literally just for our family, that would have been like an always on computer, some kind of headless media server. That's electricity. It's got to be a data connection. Who's got the best like fiber? I don't. So it'd have to be installed in someone else's house. It's like, just to run that for a family of a couple dozen members has costs associated with it. Now times 1 billion users. Like, that's incredible.
It's crazy.
That is
when
amazing.
you think about it. Yeah, the impact.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, well, we'll see. So if you're a WhatsApp user and you love the channels and you're dismayed by the ads, let us know. I don't know. Well, who knows? Anyway. All right. So we're going to get into your emails. In fact, you can email us at contact@androidfaithful.com with any questions or comments on anything we've talked about. And many of you write into us all the time. We love hearing from you. And we select some emails to talk about here on the show. And first up, Win, you've got the first email.
Yeah, and the first email is from,
which
well, I'm in Maryland right now, but it's the first email is from Colorado, where I normally am. Hello, Android Faithful crew. For years, I've been annoyed by the volume slider overlay that appears on my Android phone when I'm using Bluetooth headphones or connected to my car's Bluetooth. This slider pops up along the right side of the screen, often obscuring important information within various apps, and then disappears after a few seconds. It's redundant since I can already adjust the volume using my phone's physical rocker button. One example of dozens, when I delivered for DoorDash, this overlay would consistently block new order details, forcing me to wait for it to disappear. I haven't found a way to disable this, quote, feature, and it persists with every new Android release. Has anyone found a solution to get rid of this floating volume slider? Thanks for the great show. Tom Walker, Littleton, Colorado. So I don't know if anyone else had any better ideas, but from my preliminary research, not really, Tom. I mean, it's funny because I saw a lot of suggestions for the opposite, where that is to override the physical volume buttons to repurpose them. I will say that one thing that you might try if you feel like, I mean, normally I think I counted and it was about 3 seconds. Something that you could see if maybe yours just feels extremely long is to look under settings, under accessibility, time controls, and then time to take action, which is how long certain things will stay up and give you time to take action. There are settings of like from anywhere from 10 seconds to like 2 minutes on those. So, you know, if you feel like yours is just extra long for some reason, that's an option to check whether it somehow got adjusted. The best answer I can find for you, which I didn't know, but I feel like I should have known, and this is the consensus. I found on Reddit that people maybe found that, you know, what you can do to, rather than waiting for it to go away, is just tapping outside of the slider will generally make it dismiss immediately. I feel bad because I feel like it's obvious, but I didn't know that. And I found this in a Reddit post on a Google Pixel forum, but it also worked on my Motorola. So I know that's annoying, but I don't know, give it a shot. I don't know what phone you have, Tom, but you can try swiping the slider away or just tapping anywhere outside of the slider, and it should just immediately go and out your way. Sorry.
Yeah, I dug into this to try to research it because I'm like, there's got to be a way to turn this off, and there used to be ages ago in older versions, but it's gone. It's there's no way to get rid of it. Yeah, and there's not even like a third-party app to get rid of it. So
well, and I think a lot of the recent changes in how our operating systems are trying to address health are making these persistent. Oh no, my camera died. Are making these persistent because of like hearing health, right? It's supposed to nag you and warn you and bring up this information for volume and stuff, and I just don't think we're going to be able to get around it.
Yep. Oh well. All right. Well, we'll let you fix.
Well, we do have a comment in on from YouTube from Sean Drillin who says precise volume can hide it. So
Oh,
that's a third-party app on the Google Play Store. I think there are probably apps that like intercept the volume key presses and then show their own UI. So you could probably install one of several apps that do that. I was thinking of like something with Tasker, but that would be a bit more involved than probably what the reader was thinking of. But yeah, this seems like a much simpler
I'll
solution.
check that out.
All right, so Precise Volume 2.0 plus Equalizer in the Google Play Store.
It's not too bad though. I don't know if you guys can see it, but
Oh wait, hang on. We'll hang on, Wen. There you go. All right.
oh, hey, thank you. So like, hopefully, if I were personally to make permission, so volume, boop. Oh, well, don't tap on anything else. But hold on, that's the problem with this solution. So volume, boop, volume, boop. So it's not so bad. I'm sorry, Tom. I know that's.
I don't know if they'd be able. Yeah, just volume tap and then immediately takes away the focus.
Yep.
I mean, if you're looking at the thing, if it's obscuring something that you were looking at, tap that thing. I don't know. Sorry, I know that's not great, Tom, but maybe precise control will help you. Thank you. Thank you. Was it Sean? Thank you, Sean.
All right. Cool. All righty then. Well, that's going to wrap up our emails. Thanks to everyone who wrote in. You can email us at contact@androidfaithful.com. It's always great to hear from you, and write in with any of your thoughts, disagreements, challenges, questions, or anything like that you might have. Juan, I'm glad to see you got your camera back for those of you watching the live stream. I know it's getting warm in there. So thanks for joining us for the 99th episode. Great to have you. Where can people find you on the internet? I know somegadgetguy.com is your home, right?
Yeah, somegadgetguy.com. It's the best place just to kind of keep up with what I'm publishing publicly. There's the YouTube channel. I'm Some Gadget Guy all over the web and social media, and patreon.com/somegadgetguy for the sort of private Patreon and Discord communities. It's I get around. I mean, I just recently published some editorials over on Notebook Check, and I'm still a gun for hire on a couple other sites. So you'll see me around. I get around.
And we appreciate the work that you do. That's for sure.
Oh, thanks.
All right. So Mishaal, over to you, sir. What have you been up to?
I've just been, as usual, posting a lot about Android, mostly on Android Authority. If you want to find out where I post on social media, you can go to my Linktree page at linktree/Mishaal Rahman. I post on a lot of different social media platforms: X, Mastodon, Threads, Telegram. I also have a Patreon page where you can come and support me for minimum $3 a month. You can join the Discord community where I frequently share little tidbits and teasers about what I'm working on and what's coming next in the world of Android. And as usual, Google has a ton of stuff they're doing. So if you want to find out what's coming next, in the next release of Android, or just chat about whatever related to Android mobile devices, come check that out.
Excellent. All right. And Win, how about you?
Developer. I do developy talks, randomlytyping.com for information about that, and Queen Code Monkey in social media places, though, to be honest, I'm really not social media right now. Really not on it right now. But yeah, randomlytyping.com.
Excellent. And you can find me at RonXO across the various spots. I'm most active over on Instagram, posting nonsense and posting about my runs. Samsung, call me. But yes, so and stay tuned, because after the regular show, everyone gets to listen to Android Faithful After Hours, where we're going to talk about some exciting topics like the patron news picks that didn't get voted in, as well as we're going to be talking about some stuff around the Samsung Galaxy Watch 8 designs, some other features coming to Pixel phones. We're going to be talking about the OnePlus, some more OnePlus tablet news, some interesting stuff in there. So you want to stay tuned to that. Specifically, I'm excited to talk about the Instant Apps story from the Patron Pick conversation, because that's near and dear to my heart, and it's going away. So stay tuned. Everyone gets to listen to that. And again, go to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful and use code AF100, and you can get 20% off a membership. Only good for the next week. So get on board, and you want to join up before we start doing the giveaways in July. So definitely do that. And we want to thank everyone for listening. As always, you are the best. We want to tune in every Tuesday. Podcast comes out. We live stream every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And then the podcast comes out immediately after that. And supporting patrons get access to the after hours. And we'll be back next week for our 100th episode. So until then, we'll see you. We are the Android Faithful. Thanks for listening. All right, my friends. Well, before we
go, we got to pick a title, right?
Yes, before we get into the after hours, we are going to pick a title. So here's what we got. So 99 AFs on the wall. We got Wanbot. Vivo looking to get beepered. Tune in for the free stuff. OnePlus Watch Club. No more watch face coin miners. The more you pay, the more Gemini will play.
Yeah.
Gemini
That's a
price
good
steers
one.
are clear as mud. Qi2 Brute.
Sorry.
Ron runs for
Wuhan merch.
I do
What?
like that one too.
WhatsApp ads in poofication.
Thank you for making it family friendly.
Support your local AF station. Android 16 follow-up. That's very by the numbers. WearOS's watch face off. Prayers up for lineage and graphene.
Aw.
Watch quakes. What time is it? Quake time. Duck. Not sold on overpriced Boox. Do you want an 80-inch TV? Samsung.
I do.
Samsung finds some fun again. Certified Nothing 3, certified mobile. What's ad? Oh no, my camera died. And WhatsApp becomes what's ad?
I like the Qi2. That was really clever.
Qi2 Brute.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really like that one.
All right.
that is a clever pun.
We got a
That is
good
our-
laugh, but quite a good laugh from.
That is our winner. All right. So normally we go offline to record the after hours, but since we are in membership drive mode, we're going to share it on the live stream, and we're just going to go right into it. So give me a moment to actually intro it for the audio listeners as well. So, and then we'll go right into it. And at the bottom of the doc, Mishaal and Huyen and Juan, you can see all the articles. And I'm not going to pull up the stories. We're just going to go through and talk to them. So if you want to pull them on your side, you can see, I can pull them up. I guess I can do that. That's fine. I can do that. Jason doesn't, but yeah. And we aim to get it done to be prompt on these. So, all right.
Yep.
All right. Let me just do that intro and then we'll be set.
Oh, we got to end the show first.
We did end the show.
Wait, no, we're still live.
I know we do it live because we're it's part of the membership drive. Everyone gets access to the after show, so we left it.
Oh,
live.
okay.
This
We're not ending
time.
the show and going to a different.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah,
We did that last week. Yeah. We're leaving it in the live stream. Yep.
All right.
We're
All right,
doing it
so-
live.
All right. Well, podcast listeners, as a treat to celebrate 100 episodes of Android Faithful coming up next week, we give you Android Faithful After Hours. Welcome
A
to
little
Android
quiet
Faithful
there.
After. Mishaal, you're stepping all over my line. All right.
That's after hours all about.
It is. Welcome to Android Faithful After Hours, where anything can happen, where we talk about the stories that didn't make the regular podcast. We are back here with Huyen, Mishaal, and Juan to talk about the awesome stuff that happened in Android that we didn't get to talk about in the regular podcast. And so first up is the stories that didn't make the cut in the patron voting. The patron pick voting, most notably, Mishaal, why don't you tell us what the first one is? So,
Well, the first one is, a feature that you probably have not seen in years, and it's Android Instant Apps. So way back in 2016 at Google I/O, Google announced this new feature called Instant Apps, and it basically allows you to run like a heavily trimmed down version of an app without actually fully installing it. So, like you kind of envision this as like, say someone sends you a link to a video on Vimeo, for example, right? Instead of installing the Vimeo app to go watch that video, you just tap on the link, and then Google Play sends you this mini version of the Vimeo app that allows you to watch the video within and like kind of do other functions that are kind of available in the full Vimeo app, but you don't have to install the full app to get that experience. Well, this feature is going away at the end of this year. Google has confirmed that they are killing this feature. Later this year, like developers will no longer be able to deploy instant apps, and Google Play will no longer serve them. And the reason, at least the reason they gave to The Verge, is that low developer adoption, as expected. Like,
Yeah,
you probably haven't seen an app use this in years.
So before I complain about it, Huyen, I wanted to get your perspective as a developer. What's your POV on instant apps? Like, why didn't they adopt it? Why weren't they using it?
So it was a really good idea. And I think we were all interested in doing it just because, like, I think engagement and getting people to use your app and be delighted enough to download the whole thing. And there's a lot of metrics on, like, they've done studies on like how often like conversion happens, that like conversion is actually dependent or proportional to like download time and all this kind of stuff. So instant apps was a really great idea from a business perspective. So the problem is twofold. Number one is that, yeah, you had to get a 15 megabyte version of your app, which depending on your team's goals might be difficult. So when I was on Trello, we were really interested in this, and we were very focused on creating a very small APK. I think we tried to stay around 10 megabytes, which was pretty good, right? So that wouldn't have been too hard for us. But like these days, it's very hard. People have kind of blown past that. I think Netflix, where I work at now, is actually pretty good at 32 megabytes, but other apps like Slack or even Messages are up in the 80s or 100. So it's not a small ask. But more than that, I think what happens is that you have to provide a slimmed down version of your experience. And usually also that means an unlogged in version. And a lot of apps, it just doesn't make sense to, like a lot of our apps are built around having an account, for better, for worse. And that was our thing with Trello, is like it's a project management thing. And all our entire experience is built on having an account. So what do we do? Like the whole idea is to get people using a cool feature as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Sign up is not part of that. So that was kind of the main reason. Is like most apps just, I don't think we're geared to this kind of flow.
So I'm super annoyed because at what I'm working on with Scorbit, I had a use case for this, and we were going to implement it. And then this news came down because over at iOS, they have something similar called App Clips, which I think also has low adoption rate, but still would allow to do the thing that I want to do with it. And I'm so mad that they're getting rid of this, because what I had spec'd out, you wouldn't need to be logged in for, and also utilized NFC. And the idea of just tapping into a device and like the NFC tap would then launch the instant app, and it would have been a great application for it, but they're getting rid of it. And so I'm mad. I'm mad about this.
No,
So,
I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's all right.
That's
What are you gonna do?
Yep.
Oh well. So. Oh well, instant apps, we hardly knew. I cannot say one time I ever interacted with an instant app.
Like I can only remember Vimeo, and like that's pretty much
why?
it.
Can you remember any or?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, and I was just gonna say, like, JGJ saying in the chat right now about progressive web apps. Like, any time I kind of ran into this idea, it would be cool if I had a little mini flavor of an app. I immediately think this is also something I could have just done in a web browser. I really struggled to come up with what would be the service or the hook or the little feature that this would have gotten me to try something, and I came up with nothing. Like, it just bupkis.
Yeah.
And that's a really great point. JG, is that actually progressive apps are often, especially at big companies, they tend to kind of interplay with the your native apps, whether like, especially for like sign up and stuff, because of payment and yada yada. That's a whole different story that we talk about very frequently. But that those two
PWAs are hamstrung. I mean, they're less than,
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And then usually a big company will have a PWI, and you try to drive traffic or users to your native app. So why do that why do instant apps when you also probably have already invested in PWAs? So anyway.
So
I mean, if you have, considering a lot of companies don't do PWAs because they're kind of hamstrung on iOS specifically.
Yeah. I mean, again, for the service, like, you can just roll out sort of a server-side version of your service, and I can interact with it, and it's better than any little applet-y version of that, even in a mobile browser, even being hamstrung by Safari. Like, it's tough to say, like, well, we definitely need to dedicate these resources to doing a cut down. It breaks my brain a little for how cool the idea is. What is the actual practical implementation of it? I can't get there.
Yeah, I had it. Anyway, I'll tell you when we're done recording. But all right, so the next story that didn't get voted in, that got a paltry 7% of the vote, which I thought would get more interest, was the fact that Huawei's Gen 2 trifold phone is rumored to be coming in September. So we flipped our lids last year when the trifold Huawei Mate XT came out, and now here we are getting the second generation of it, which I thought was rather soon. I don't know, the Huawei Mate X-T2 is going to be coming in September with new innards with their in-house Kirin 9020 processor, a more efficient and customized version of their system on a chip. So what do you guys think? Were you surprised to see a second version of the trifold so soon, or no? Or
No.
No?
Really? No.
I was.
I mean, like,
Have you?
it's
Oh,
only
go ahead.
soon considering like the global launch,
Yeah.
but the China launch happened months before.
True.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just so pricey.
Have any of you played with it?
No.
The
Yeah.
first.
Have you?
So I got hands on with Fisher's. He let me kind of run
Oh,
around
yeah?
with it for a little
Yeah.
How
bit.
was
And
it?
he was really working that thing. Like that was like a ride or die mobile productivity setup for him. And it is so nice. It is really clean. It works functionally hardware. It works much better than I would have expected it to. And I still can't wrap my brain around I could get the nicest camera specialist phone on the market and the nicest productivity tablet on the market and still have a lot of money left over for other accessories and activities. It seems to me like, again, like I was saying about other things, you try and figure out who is this the right thing for. There is someone that this is the perfect only solution. They need to have it. I totally get it. But that is such a small part of the market that I would recommend that kind of a solution to.
Yep.
Well, Juan, can you carry a tablet in your pocket? 10-inch tablet?
No, but like if it's about me, then I would much rather have Moto Ready 4 and a pair of XR glasses, because I'm not going to just be willy-nilly unfolding my trifold out in places where that fragility is going to be an issue. So in situations where I might want to sit down and use that larger canvas for a couple $100, I can break out my X reels and have a movie theater presentation of my data and a Motorola with like a laser pointer kind of experience for my mouse cursor and not need to deal with a bendy foldy plastic screen. And again, save about $2,000 on that experience overall. So again, like, yeah, I get it. You know, there are times where a tablet in my pocket would be kind of cool. I've already found other solutions for how do I get a bigger screen for my data. And here, the compromise is I can get a wildly big screen for my data for a lot less.
Fair. It's that trade-off, right? So. All right. Well, those were the stories that didn't get voted into the patron pick, and now we'll move into the stories that didn't make the cut on the news. And these were tough calls. It was a week of a lot of little bits and pieces of news. And Win, this one was right up your alley.
No, and I think it was. I think Ron, I thought Juan, you were with us when we discussed the Squircle last year with the the Galaxy Ultra. Well, guess what? Guess what, Juan?
I know more.
It's nothing but Squircles this year, you guys. The Galaxy Watch 8 lineup is basically adopting the Squircle for every single watch. The Galaxy Watch 8, 8 Classic, and of course the original Squircle, the OG Squircle, the Ultra 2025, all having the Squircle design. Now, the Galaxy Watch 8, the kind of baseline model, does have a more subtle squircle. It's kind of hard to see. You could imagine it's sort of a weird circle at the, and it's a very clean design. Just the two buttons. So I don't know, it's not too squirkly. The 8 Classic, actually, which is the middle one, is so interesting because it has a squircle, but it also has the rotating
Bezel.
Bezel, not bevel,
Yeah.
bezel. Which,
It's got a beveled bezel.
It's a beveled bezel. It is a beveled bezel. Holy
Bevel
crap.
bezel. Yep.
Remember, like, when all of our designs, like HTC, the beveled edges, and we just couldn't stop talking about.
I remember that.
The chamfered edges and the beveled.
Beveled bezel. Can that be like the title of the after show? But yes, again, Sorry, yeah, Juan said it. It just and it does pick up, I think, one of the quick buttons from the Ultra, and the Ultra itself hasn't changed very much. I did actually quite fancy last year's orange band, but they've changed the quote hero colors this year to be more of like a a marine blue, navy blue, as well as the band. And that's that's pretty much it. That's the big thing. The Squircle is here and it's in. Do expect the Galaxy Watch 8, the kind of sleeker, less apparently squirkly one, to come in two sizes, 40 and 44 millimeters. Let's see. And yeah, I mean, that's all. That's a really interesting thing. It's squircles. It's all squircles over here.
I don't like the look of it, but I will, as much as this is acid in my mouth ever saying anything nice about Samsung, if it allows them to subtly increase the battery capacity while we are expecting an SoC improvement, then the functionality of that would at least balance my distaste for that design. But if you're going to go square, I really wish they'd just go square screen and you would just get much better real estate. Like the data on your wrist would have more room and more space. And
yeah, I wonder what the reason actually
I mean,
doing it is.
I think it's just they have the screens.
Minute changes. Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's it.
Or just too much comparison to Apple, because I mean, we already compare Samsung to Apple constantly.
Too much.
Maybe too direct of it. I mean, because I think Garmin just released like a really square watch, really square like Garmin watch, and it's like, ooh, it's the Apple Watch competitor. I don't know. Maybe that's something to do with it too.
I mean, it could be like that could play into it, like they making it more squarish to get those Apple comparisons. People kind of associate square screen with like an Apple Watch,
original,
right?
Yeah.
But still, yeah.
Could be some sort of like subtle mind game they're trying to play with customers.
But again, like and Mishaal's wearing one on his wrist right now too. I have full functionality with multiple days on a single charge with OnePlus. And if I go battery saver, I basically have a full featured fitness tracker that can go for like 2 weeks now on a single charge. I wish Samsung was bringing more of that to the table. The aesthetics here just aren't enough. They're just not doing it for me. When I know that they've got the biggest war chest of parts and pieces and components and software developers, they could be driving this bus. I should not be turning to a OnePlus to be like, this is the most groundbreaking and this is the functionality that every watch should have. I should be looking at a Samsung being the tip of the spear there.
Fair. Totally fair. All right. Next up, a little going back to Android 16.
And speaking of Samsung being at the tip of the spear, a feature that they've had for literally years, the ability to control the brightness of your flashlight, is a feature that Google is finally adding to Pixel phones in a future release. So for years on Samsung and more recently Apple, although it's been years too since they've added it, you've been able to pull down the quick toggles, and you've been able to long press and change the brightness of the flashlight. On Pixel phones, you can't do that. You just get one set brightness level, which on the Pixel 8 and newer phones has already been at 50% of the maximum brightness. So like if you turn on the flashlight through the quick settings on your Pixel 8 or your Pixel 9, it's actually at half its maximum
and it doesn't feel bright enough, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like when I've been looking,
it's literally half its full intensity.
When I'm looking for that missing Lego piece under the couch for my kid, I'm like, why can't this light be brighter?
Well, you got to get yourself one of these internet appliance phones from 8849.
Is that a Ule? Is that a Ule phone?
No, this is the tank.
This is the tank.
The
Can you hold that up again?
So here's the flashlight. Yeah. So there's the little camera flashlight, and now let me see if I can. Oh no, the camera died!
Oh well.
Give me a second, and I just burned out my camera with the amazing flashlight on this 8849. Give me just 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
I'll see.
So, anyway, so Mishaal, wrap it up.
So at least back to the story. The interesting thing is that Pixel phones, you actually can adjust the flashlight brightness.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's
by
crazy.
The way.
You go camping lantern instead of little flashlight.
So for our audio listeners, Juan is holding a very rugged tank phone with a very bright. How many inches is that light? That is like several. That's at least like 2 inches wide, like long, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The full strip.
A movie with that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Incredible.
Anyway, so
if you have a Pixel phone, you actually can adjust the flashlight brightness, just not from quick settings. you have to download either a third-party app like FlashDim, or you have to use Google's Magnifier app, which actually does have built-in flashlight brightness
Sorry.
controls.
Oh my god.
So yes, Google have made an app that allows you to change the flashlight brightness, but the operating system, Android, doesn't allow you to adjust the flashlight brightness from the quick settings.
Oh my
But
god.
they're finally going to be fixing that in a future release.
So we got to give Samsung some credit and some kudos.
Yes.
That is a basic feature that should have been a part of Android before now.
Yeah, that's wild. Oh god. Well, I look forward to this. It'll help me find Lego pieces easier. So, all right. And then over on the OnePlus side of things, we talked about in the regular show. We mentioned the OnePlus Pad 3. Pad 3, which is like a kind of a flagship kind of tablet. We had some rumors. Ooh, you got it, Juan? I'm jealous.
Yeah, it's so pretty. It's
yeah.
real nice.
Is that a review unit or did you buy it?
Oh no, it's a review unit. Yeah,
Oh,
I had it during the embargo. It's
so cool.
it needs another update, but it's
Yeah.
real nice.
Yeah. Oh man, very jealous. Yeah. Well, so really curious about what OnePlus is doing around tablets because this week we got some leaked looks at the OnePlus Pad Lite, which is whereas the OnePlus Pad 3 is kind of flagship level, OnePlus Pad Lite is more low end, I don't want to say budget, but not really budget, kind of on the lighter end side of it. Which is a more affordable, kind of cheaper kind of tablet, and it looks like OnePlus is making an attempt at having a robust tablet line. If these leaks are to be believed, by having a smaller, more affordable kind of model, 11-inch display with a 90 hertz refresh rate. But kind of a another device in their lineup on the tablet side of things. I know OnePlus has had tablets over the years, but again, this seems like a commitment to the form factor.
They need more. They need more smaller tablets. Like this is something I mentioned when I was on the briefing for the OnePlus Pad 3. I was like, their tablets are just getting bigger and bigger. Their latest one isn't it like 14-inch?
No, it's
13.
huge. It's in
13-inch.
between the size of a Galaxy Tab Plus and Tab Ultra.
And the Tab Ultra.
So it's big.
It's massive though, right?
Yep.
Like it's literally a laptop replacement. But like I don't want a laptop replacement in an Android tablet because like just to be frank, Android is not there yet.
Well, because that's the thing is that a lot of people, when they think tablets, they look at the iPad Pro and they think that's what we need to compete against and that's what we need to pull against. But like, I love my Pixel tablet, and I think that 10 to 11-inch form factor in Android is great because it's portable. You throw it in your bag, you can take it on the plane. It's great for consuming media. It's great for being in productivity. It's not too big, to your point, Mishaal. And so this is OnePlus, maybe taking your kind of advice and going a little smaller. So we'll see if these leaks are real and if this is actually a real product or not. But
and the compromises don't sound terrible. I mean, I know we're looking at they said it was a MediaTek Helio, but that's still going to be a decent amount of compute power for a companion device. You're probably going to have your phone still on you too, and it looks like it's going to be
too.
Yeah, overkill for like giving it to a kid to watch a movie, right? Like plenty of horsepower for that. So I think this is absolutely what I would love to see is maybe a strategy where OnePlus can build up their tablet line enough that they can keep a previous model around longer. Because if we could get the OnePlus Pad 2, which is a little bit smaller and just has a 1-year-old chip, which is still stupid powerful, but around is like the middle point, then you could have the new tablet out as the most expensive, the previous year's out as the mid-price, and then they could have an entry-level model in something like this light tablet. And then I think we'd have all our bases covered.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in the tablet form factor. Personally. So
it's been fun just seeing like whether or not you feel it's ready for laptop replacement status. I feel like if we get this updated to Android 16, we see better windowed interface on tablets like we've been seeing on the desktop modes, on the QPR1 beta. There's a lot of potential here as Google is looking to replace Chrome OS with Android. We might already have the hardware that could get us there for this to be a laptop replacement next year with an update. It's getting there. It's a lot closer than I would have expected us to be. over the last year.
All right. Well, Mishaal, you got one little tidbit about OnePlus, right?
Yeah, actually, this is something that they posted just earlier today, I believe, or actually it was yesterday. So they are teasing the upcoming announcement. I'll share the link in the chat right now, Ron.
Yep, thanks.
They are teasing the upcoming release of the OnePlus Watch 3 43 millimeter edition, as well as the OnePlus Buds 4. So one thing that we've talked about a lot, like Ron has a Watch 3, I have a Watch 3, Juan has a Watch 3. But the one thing that some people have been complaining about, especially like Flo, is that this is too big for some people, like people with smaller wrists. The original OnePlus Watch 3 is a 46 millimeter case size. It's just too big for people with smaller wrists. So thankfully, OnePlus is working on releasing a 43 millimeter edition. We don't know if it's going to have a cut down battery. Very likely it will have to, because it's literally a smaller device. We don't know exactly how much that'll affect it by, but even if it's like a day shaved off, it's still going to be king of OnePlus, of WearOS battery life watches, So it'll be exciting to see what they come up with. I think it's launching.
Flo's been railing
soon?
on the
July 8th.
Yeah, July 8th is the launch event. Flo's been railing on the smaller watch band bandwagon, so.
Well, and my wife is rocking a Pixel Watch, but she's constantly complaining about the battery life. And something like this would be the perfect fit. In fact, I could probably give her the OnePlus Watch 3, keep it in RTOS mode, and have it, even with a cut down battery, probably still get like 7 or 8 days of battery life on a charge. She would flip out. Like that would be huge for her. So I'm really hoping that this is coming sooner rather than later.
Yep.
It sounds like July 8th, so it is sooner rather than later.
I'm hoping.
July 8th, there it is. Set your calendars. There it is. So, all right. And with that, that's going to wrap up the after hours. Juan, we can give your camera a break.
My poor camera.
Your poor camera needs to breathe. But,
overheated like 5 times during the
That
show.
was so bad.
Yeah.
I definitely need to get a camera with active cooling.
But,
Let me see if I can just get it on one more time just to say goodbye.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, if you need to turn your fan on, you can. It's after hours. Anything happens. Anything goes on after hours. We can, there it is.
So it's right next to the wall of my office is west facing. So especially as we're getting into the early evening when we start recording, it's like that wall is just like 10 degrees hotter than the outside air temperature, and that camera just can't hang anymore. Maybe I need to get like one of those little like thermo coolers.
Yeah.
And like it would get like a MagSafe ring and just pop it onto the back of the camera there. See if that works.
Excellent. Well, we hope everybody enjoyed this week's edition of Android Faithful After Hours, and we're going to go get some rest and prepare for next week's 100th episode. Juan, thanks for joining us on the long haul.
Yeah,
this week's
so glad
show.
to be here.
Yeah. And everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you next week for 100.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.